skill of reinforcement is a topic for today's discussion. Let us see the meaning of the term reinforcement, which is a combination of several words such as re, in, force, and ment. To derive the meaning by putting together all these words, we could say that reinforcement is a process of strengthening so that the likelihood of something is highly expected. Here's something I refer to a student's behavior that would be understood immediately or soon by an example. Reinforcement in our context is a process of strengthening a student's desirable response so that its likelihood in the near future is highly probable. Let us assume a situation in which, when the weather is too windy, the teacher is calling the class and asking them to close the door by saying, "It is too windy. Could anyone close the door, please?" Immediately responding to the teacher's request, Ajabu closes the door. Responding to her immediately, the teacher says, "Oh, that's Ajabu. It's so sweet of you." These words are emotionally adding some strength to the behavior of her, and it is expected that this behavior would be reoccurring in the near future. So, whenever the students respond to the teacher's demand or stimuli, the teacher should immediately respond back in such a way that promote the student's behavior in the near future. This is nothing new, but this has some theoretical underpinnings. This was earlier proposed by Thorndike initially in his law of effect, and later this was accommodated in the theories of learning by B.F. Skinner. This is used for modifying a person's behavior in psychological treatments. So, coming to our practice, how do we practice the skill of reinforcement? This can be done by giving some inputs after the student's responses, and these inputs can be of different nature, such as verbal, non-verbal, extraverbal, tokens, contact. By repeating or rephrasing something, or by writing the student's responses on the blackboard. Let us take one by one with some examples. Verbal reinforcement. This is given in the form of either spoken or written words. Assume that a student responds to your question. After getting the right response or partially right response, or the effort given to respond to your question when the teacher says, "Well done," "Very good," "That's great," "Wonderful," etc., this could be a verbal reinforcement. But this verbal reinforcement need not be only in spoken form, but also in written form, or also in digital form. The next is non-verbal reinforcement. Non-verbal it is self-explanatory, as this is done without using any spoken, written, or electronic words, but through our overt behavior, such as facial expression, body language, etc. After a student's response, if the teacher would like to approve and appreciate the student's response, she may smile, nod her head, show some facial expressions or gestures, or from her posture one can understand that she is leaning forward to listen to that person keen. So these behaviors are likely to promote the right behavior of responding to the teacher in the classroom. Extra-verbal reinforcement. These are verbal in nature, but it is not actually in word form, phrase, or sentence forms. These are the cultural signs of a community that gives certain meaning, or that communicates meaning to the students. This can be understood by reading the examples projected. When the students say something, you say "wow," "aha," etc. So these are sounds or utterances that carry some meaning in a particular cultural context. Sometimes some of the sounds cannot be expressed in words, but still they have certain meanings. Now come to token reinforcement. These are the tangible or visible objects given to the students in appreciation of what she or he has done. These objects have values, but these are not referring to the marks given to assess the student, to tell them to what extent they have completed or they have learned a particular topic. Giving small gifts to the students is an example of token reinforcement. Now, the next comes contact reinforcement. Contact refers to the bodily contact between the teacher and student. Sometimes shaking hands or patting the students on the back would be taken by this reinforcement. Repeating or rephrasing. The teacher, sometimes in approval of what was spoken by the students, may repeat or change the structure and some of the words of what was spoken by the students to make it more more meaningful or clearer. This could be also done that is likely to motivate the student's behavior in the near future. Writing the pupil's answer on the blackboard after the answer is given by the students. And all these components we have listed here, and this list is not an exhaustive one. You may add so many other components when you come across some of those. And these components are used only to give a tick mark in the checklist or to rate in a rating scale to know whether the students are using these components while practicing their micro-teaching activity. But this is not going to help understanding whether the skills used are really having an impact upon the learner. So these are only the components which are used for assessment. But in the later stages, the teachers should try to find out the effectiveness or the impact of all these components, and that requires the teachers understanding of the criteria of the assessment. In our case, criteria for the assessment of giving reinforcement in the class to the students. These criteria are: 1. Gaining interest, increasing desirable behavior, enhancing returns and retrieval, boosting confidence, building relationship. I will take only one point out of this. Simply, one cannot easily understand whether the students are interested in your class. If the students are really interested in your class, then we can say that your reinforcement is working well. Similarly, whatever is taught or whatever behavior is manifested in the student, if boosting confidence or building relationship with the teacher, then we can come to a judgment that to some extent the reinforcement skill is working. So, coming to the end of our lecture, we are going to talk about the planning. As the other plans we have done so far, the first page or the title page contains the following details. There is nothing greater to explain. And the second page should contain the skill components and also the criteria for assessment. And finally, the last page or the remaining pages can contain a table with 3 columns for teacher activity, student activity, and the component used. Here one point has to be understood, that is about the component. We need to know that the component should be given only after the teacher gives the reinforcers, and the reinforcers should be listed in the first column, not in the last column. So to say, the reinforcers in this example are well done, very good, nice, that's great, wonderful, etc. These ought to be spoken by the teacher after the response is given by the student, and here in this table it is enumerated with 2, and 1 is the teacher's question, 2 is the student's response, and there is no 3 here because in this skill we are not going to add anything in the skill component in the first row, but after the student's response that is listed here as 2, the teacher is giving some responses such as well done, very good, nice, etc. And towards this, in the last column, we have to mention what type of reinforcement is given here. I hope this is understood and will be kept in mind while preparing the learning plans for this practice.